Interstate 70 toward the north and the east of Grand Junction. Parachute over toward Rifle, Glenwood Springs, and continuing down Interstate 70 into Vail. We've got that snow coming down pretty good early on this morning. Hurricane Ian made landfall in western Cuba as a Category 3 major hurricane. Throughout the overnight hours, it is expected to continue to intensify into a Category 4 hurricane as it approaches the Gulf of Mexico, then slow down on its approach to Tampa Bay early Thursday mornings. Tornado watches, severe thunderstorm warnings, and tornado warnings scattered all across primarily Louisiana and up into Mississippi, and all this is moving over into Alabama over the next several hours. And if you're looking for that average first day that we normally hit 60 degrees, it comes this month. February 28th is when we should start to see those 60s start to become a little bit more common. Elsewhere on this satellite view, you can see some of the smoke from some of those wildfires just to the west of Interstate 25 in north central New Mexico, and you can even see some of the snowpack still sitting on top of some of the higher elevations of the Continental Divide and the San Juan Mountains. The first day of the JUCO World Series is finally upon us. Mostly cloudy skies throughout the day tomorrow, but we're staying dry. Those temperatures fairly warm into the lower to middle 80s for those afternoon games, and we'll be dealing with those breezy conditions as well. Some of this out over the Yucatan Peninsula and into the western Caribbean, the remnants of Hurricane Agatha that made landfall in the southern portions of Mexico earlier this week. This will continue to drift off toward the north and the east and has a pretty high chance of becoming our first named storm of the Atlantic hurricane season. After that snow came to an end, we started to see those clear skies. It dropped those temperatures into the lower to middle teens where we are right now, and it froze over a lot of that snow that's still left over on the road. Area of high pressure centered pretty much right over the Nevada-Utah border, and the way the winds rotate around this area of high pressure, it will help to bring some of this wildfire smoke from some of those wildfires in Idaho southward across the western slope into Grand Junction later on this afternoon. We'll have to watch for the potential for some isolated showers and storms for Country Jam on Thursday and Friday with those highs in the middle to upper 80s. Much drier on Saturday, but a lot warmer as well with those temperatures in the lower 90s.
Your first alert weather with meteorologist Zack Webster.
Well, the morning is off to a bit of a snowy start for some of the higher elevations around the western and northern portions of the region early this morning. Some of that snow coming down out across the Uncompahgre Plateau right around Gateway, seeing some of that snow early on this morning, as well as out across the Grand Mesa. Snow starting to wind down along Interstate 70 from about DeBeck into Parachute, but still over into Rifle and Glenwood Springs. Some of that snow is coming down, and check out this heavier snow band that's continuing to gradually push off toward the south and the east. Right around Douglas Pass, seeing some of that heavier snow, and up toward Meeker, seeing some of that snow early on this morning. There's a live look from Douglas Pass right now, and you can see that heavy snow that's continuing to fall along Highway 139. And again, we'll continue to see some of those snow bands throughout much of the day today that could create some locally heavier snowfall amounts in some locations around the western slope. Again, much of the snow stays in the higher elevations of the region throughout much of the morning and at least into the early portions of the afternoon. Then from there, we should start to see some of that snow popping up in some of the lower elevations around the western slope. And notice again that banding structure that sets up in a lot of that snow, particularly by later on this afternoon and into the evening hours. You can see several of those snow bands there on Futurecast. That continues to push farther off toward the south and the east throughout the evening and the overnight hours tonight. Grand Junction should start to see a lot of their snow wrapping up between around midnight and 1 o'clock or so, but farther off toward the south end of Montrose, it could be closer until 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning before that snow starts to wind down. A lot of that better moisture starts to head down toward the San Juan Mountains into early Tuesday morning. And while snow continues again along and south of the San Juan Mountains, farther off toward the north, we'll start to see those skies clearing out around Grand Junction and especially places off toward the north from there. And will continue to dry out throughout the day on Tuesday. Highest snowfall amounts will be in the higher elevations of the high country. Crested Butte up toward Vail, around 6 to 9 inches, 4 to 6 inches of snow just about everywhere else in the higher elevations around the western slope. Then for the most part, I think we see between 1 to 2 inches of snow in some of the valleys. And again, Interstate 70 from about Grand Junction over into Glenwood Springs and over into Vail could be a little bit of a snowy go of it at times throughout the day today, as well as out across the Grand Mesa and particularly out along the Uncompahgre Plateau. Be careful if you're traveling out across any of those locations. Throughout the day today, snow continues to increase into the afternoon. High temperature around 35 in Grand Junction, 16 overnight tonight. Some of that snow continues to linger around. Drier, partly cloudy, 30 on Tuesday, and we'll start to gradually warm up throughout the middle of the week as a little bit more sunshine begins to settle back into the region. Clouds back on the increase by the end of the work week and into the weekend. High temperatures continuing to warm into the upper 30s and lower 40s. Snow continues 37 today in Montrose. Some of that continues overnight tonight. Low temperature around 15. Snow starts to wind down into early Tuesday morning. We're drying out from there. High temperature around 29. Plenty of sunshine, middle to upper 30s into Wednesday and Thursday. Then clouds on the increase by the end of the work week and into the weekend, with those highs warming into the upper 30s and lower 40s.